Hello. I have a book to talk about. The book today is The Ghost by Jefferson Morley. The Secret Life of CIA Spymaster James Jesus Angleton. That's him, James Jesus Angleton. Jefferson Morley is a journalist. He is, worked in Washington for more than 30 years, 15 of which he spent on the Washington Post. He's author of Our Man in Mexico, biography of CIA's station chief Winston Scott, who was a character in this nonfiction book. And Morley is a journalist, as we said, and he runs a Substack. He runs a Substack and podcast. He is a primary JFK assassination researcher, trying to get to the bottom of what really went on in Dallas in 1963. And of course, this book fits into that because James Jesus Angleton was all wrapped up in that stuff. So starts out telling us, biography. It's a biography as well as a spy biography or intelligence biography. So he begins telling us about James Jesus Angleton. His father was James Hugh Angleton, and his father rose up in the United States here as a worker, a businessman for National Cash Registers, NCR, which made business machines. Now, this is way back in the 1930s. So, and his father bought the franchise for NCR machines in Italy. So he was living in fascist Italy, which all through the 30s was already fascist Italy because I think Mussolini came into power in the 20s. And so James, the son, was a scholar. He went to the finest schools. I don't think I remember where he went. Harvard, Princeton, one of those. He was very much interested in poetry, so he also was quite interested in the poetry of Ezra Pound. So through his father and his connection with Italy, Pound was living in Italy then, and James Angleton went to Italy and met Ezra Pound, and had Ezra Pound wrote something for the college, Furioso, like the movie Furioso, which was a literary poetry magazine that Angleton and some of his friends were running there at Yale, whatever it was. Anyway, one of those Ivy League places. Maybe it was Harvard. I'm not going to look it up right now. You can check out everything I say. As I said before, I just read these books and then I just sort of improvise my thoughts and memories of them, here a couple of days later, and that's what I'm doing here. So so his father was, interested in fascism. He thought it was a good system that Mussolini was running a good government with this, fascist system. So I can see how people in that era were compelled by these things. And this is before Mussolini got involved with Hitler and, becoming the Axis powers of World War II. But all this unfolds, while we're going on here. So yeah, Pound ended up kind of cracking up, I guess. And James was a friend of his and went and visited him. He was an older man, And Pound started doing fascist radio broadcasts from Italy. Sort of political, I guess, in pushing the fascist thing, and ultimately they almost brought him to task legally in the United States for that, but ultimately he ended up in an insane asylum for some years. So I guess he got off with the nut issue. So the war breaks out, and Angleton gets involved with the OSS, with his connections there in Italy, and of course the OSS certainly evolved into the CIA with the charter or whatever that was written in 1947, which when the national security thing started with the CIA and I guess the NSA and all that. And the thing is that the CIA, after the war, World War II, when we were fighting the Nazis and, the Axis power, Mussolini, with Britain, of course, and France, when, free France, and the Soviet Union, which, of course, the Soviet Union lost lots and lots and lots of people, and basically were the ones that kind of defeated the Nazis with the Eastern Front. So, we would not have defeated the Nazis as we have, as the Allies did, without the work of the Soviet Union. So the war ends. And these guys who are, become the CIA agents, the OSS old boys, which is Alan Dulles and this guy and Richard Helms and some others. They're all this sort of war buddy group. Who ended up being the CIA's, founding cadre of agents. And what they did right after the war is, they recruited fascist contacts that they had, Nazi contacts that they had, to turn against the Soviet Union. So the Soviet Union, instantly was the new enemy of the military-industrial complex. And, from my point of view, basically the CIA became, right around that time, became the Fourth Reich, became what the evolution of what the Nazis were. And, just battling fascism and socialism in all these countries. Did I say fascism? Communism and socialism in all these countries. They were soft on fascism. As we've seen through all the years, they've been cooing socialist and communist governments as much as they could, and kind of happy with the fascist ones, as long as they're not warlike and attacking the United States. And so, we've been friendly to the fascists ever since, and that's kind of what's gone on in my point of view. So, this is, I came into this with kind of a lot of these opinions, but so as we evolve, Angleton also, he becomes quite friendly with the Mossad, with Israel. So that enters into the picture too, especially when we get to 1967. I'm jumping ahead here. In 1967, when the Liberty was attacked, which I've talked about in another video, and the Liberty American ship that was attacked by the Israelis, even though they had flags and so forth and everything, that was clearly an American ship, and the Israeli fighter pilots that were sent to attack them knew it was an American ship, but did it anyway. And so there's a suspicion in this book that Angleton was the guy who had them positioned in where they were, where they got attacked, moving them all the way from Madagascar or someplace all the way up into the Mediterranean near Israel. So that was in the 6-Day War. But before that, Angleton became rose up pretty high in the CIA, and they're all like these old school they're the debuts and the cigarette crowd, the buddy buddies. That's how they did it's not rare that some of us meet our friends with our drugs of choice and indulge in those, and that's how we loosen up and become friends with people. And this crowd, it was alcohol. So he was all through his life, and toward the end, of course, he was the multi martini lunch type of guy. And he ends up being the head of counterintelligence. So he's hunting for moles and agents within the CIA, Soviet KGB agents, and he becomes really paranoid, really sick. All these guys are accused that there was a KGB agent who defected, and he became really close to that guy, and they with that guy's information or whatever he dreamed up, they accused a lot of agents who were innocent of being KGB agents and double agents, and screwed up their whole careers. And Angleton was a piece of shit, really, is what I'm trying to say. So he also in the counterintelligence system here, he was the one who read all the mail when they started the FBI's COINTELPRO and the CIA's chaos. They read all the mail of anti-war activists and so forth. They did all this surveillance. Sent in agents to disrupt people, agent provocateurs into these movements to destroy the movements, of course, because they thought, oh well, they're from communism, because they didn't want the war in Vietnam. The war in Vietnam. Well, let's get back a little bit here. So, in his counterintelligence work and so forth, and doing this kind of stuff, you also would track defectors to the Soviet Union, one of which was Lee Harvey Oswald. So he had been had files on the movements and the behavior of Lee Harvey Oswald from 1959 until 1963, when the assassination occurred, and then lied about that to the Warren Commission. It came out much later in the 70s when he was finally kicked out of his job, and some of his files were rifled through, and a lot of them were destroyed, but a lot of them came down to us, and that's when we found out about a lot of stuff, as well as MK Ultra, the use of experimentation with LSD and other drugs and so forth to find a mind control agent to create the Manchurian Candidate, where you can take someone and turn them into an assassin against their will, that kind of a thing. So he was all part of that as well. And the safe houses, like there was down one in Greenwich Village here, where they would lure people in with women or something, men, and dose them, and record them from a room adjacent and watch how they behaved when they're dosed with LSD and all these insane experiments. And, Olson, the CIA agent who was tossed out of the window of the hotel, there's a documentary about that, the name of which I can't remember right now, but I'll probably try to put it on the screen later. So yeah, that in a little nutshell is the story of James Jesus Angleton, and I thought it was a really good book. Jefferson Morley in his Substack today said that he had this speech where he gave. Apparently, we're getting close. He feels we're getting close to really unpacking the CIA connection to the JFK assassination. Unfortunately, I was not able to watch that clip because the sort of convoluted way. I'm not a subscriber. I'm a free subscriber to JFK Facts, and he was making that available to free subscribers, but it was some kind of a thing where I had to send the text and so on and so forth. So anyway, I haven't seen it. But that's the story, and now they, he is involved in the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, all this stuff going on with trying to kill Castro, all these extra legal effects that the CIA has been involved with in all these years and still is involved with, as far as any of us know. And I mean, who knows, maybe even current events have something to do with that. I mean, over this weekend something happened which was, a little extreme. And so I'll go into that. But Jefferson Morley's The Ghost, The Secret Life of CIA Spymaster James Jesus Angleton. The website also put this interesting, JFK Facts also put this really nice painting of Angleton standing with a shot Oswald with a bloody t-shirt, and I'll include that image so you can see that. So I would recommend reading this book if you're interested in that stuff. It's it's not happy. I don't know why I keep going down this route, and maybe I should. I'm reading a novel now that's much more pleasant, and we'll talk about that next time. But USA has a lot of problems, and I was listening to Ralph Nader Radio Hour today, and he said, what we're doing in Palestine when we're killing 200 members of innocent people in a family, and how there's coming on to line military-style drones that can be made by sort of average people, and that Ralph Nader is expecting a kind of a serious blowback on the shores of the United States, which has been kind of sheltered from a lot of stuff, other than 9/11 and a couple other things. So we'll have to see what happens in the future, and it's all coming to roost with the dirty work of these gangster officials, these creeps of the CIA, and they've been made the fourth branch of government that actually supersedes the others, because they don't really have to answer to anyone. They just get an enormous budget and do whatever the fuck they want and have no oversight. It's that's the kind of country we've become, and that's why we've become a plague on the entire world, and that's the way I feel about it. So that's the story. So I'll show up again probably and do another one of these.